of
What's up, man?
of a story, but then they'll always go back to the same story all the time.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and it's like you have this good thing going, but then why do you have to start talking about, the stuff that doesn't even matter, right? You have to bring all that mess back into your song. Why can't you keep the story going? Anyway, there's something else I was going to say, but I'll get that off camera.
So I had the preference. I didn't,
Spin it.
you can share it.
Okay, it's like being in a church service where the sermon is great, but then you always have to go back to tithing. That's what I was gonna say. You always got to bring that back and then like hit that. Like every message doesn't tie to that.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I was visiting a church with my wife, man, and I'm tell you now, be honest, not going back to the other day. I'm being transparent.
All right, let's go.
Oh, and we was in this church for probably, man, I'm gonna say maybe 3, 4 hours. I won't say. Man, when I tell you that basket came around about 6 times.
Not the basket.
Man, I mean, well, you know what type of church it is. It ain't even like, be on phone and do the cash app. No, right. It was a basket. You know what I'm saying? Basket. I mean, ain't nobody got that much cash in their pocket. You keep passing the basket around. Hey, you was thinking about it the first time and you ain't do it, you can do it this time. If you ain't do it the first 2 times, you can do it. I was like, man, it was like, yeah. But like I said, man, it is what it is. I just
and we know that's giving is the way you have to go, but it's like when you emphasize it so much, it kind of makes you go, wait a minute, that was a great message, but how do we get back here? That's just like today's rap.
Oh man, yeah.
Great message, but how do you get back to this mess, right?
Yeah. If you can understand it now. You got to be able to understand the message because
Kaneen, you got them old ears. I can still understand it.
Really? Okay. All right.
Your ears got stuck in the 80s somewhere, 80s and 90s. You got to let them be progressive. You got to have the progressive ears.
Hey, I guarantee you, because you on.
What's that?
You on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm from the West Coast, but yeah.
Yeah, they don't have many mumble rappers on the West Coast.
Nah, they have good stuff here.
Yeah.
You said they got the good stuff here.
Everything I'm talking about is right here down south. So,
but listen, I'm in Atlanta, so it's like,
especially Atlanta.
Right.
Oh man, but hey, I take them old ears because I be listening, and I be like, man, this is garbage.
Beats be hitting though.
Right.
Always.
Well,
always.
That's up for debate. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. You know what it is. We just kind of jump into our conversations. Sometimes they just keep rolling. So we appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you share. Share is caring. Let everybody know that the brothers are on. So today we're talking about, I did put, have you ever been fired? But we're going to talk about what have you learned from the places that you worked? What have you learned from the places that you worked? And we're going to talk about how many jobs have you had? How many W-2 jobs have you had?
They got to be W-2 jobs?
Ooh. No, maybe not. Okay, we can talk about all of them. Every hustle that you might have had, well, not every hustle, but
every legal
hustle that we had. Every legal hustle, even if it was under table non-tax. Thank you for doing that. And we're gonna get into all of that. I know, just a little shift. This is Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. All right, so I have to my left, right, my brother, like no other, Mr. Thomas Cotton in the building. Right up under me is Mr. Brian A. McCrory Sr., pastor, and diagonally to me is Kaneen Curvey, aka Pop Smoke.
I say boot up or shut up.
All right. Let me drop this intro. We're gonna get into it. We'll be right back right after this.
So I see you switching up your little intro every now and then, huh?
Every now and then, I'm actually gonna working on a new one, new stuff. So,
new music.
Right. We the best. All right. So again, welcome to the Brothers of Legacy. Make sure you stay connected. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576, and never miss a broadcast happening with the Legacy Walker Network. All right. So today, like I said, so let's start off with that one, and maybe I give you enough time to think about it. How many jobs have you had? How many jobs have you had? And I'll make it. I'll pull it back a little bit, saying like something that you either had to apply for, put some information down. You know, not necessarily, hey, I need you to do this work for me this week. You know, I'm gonna pay you for that. I'm talking about like jobs, like the government knew that you worked this job. How many of those have you had?
That's a good way of putting it. The government knew you worked that job.
the government knew, or was indicated at some point that you. Yeah, we know you worked.
Oh man.
I'll start with Thomas. What about you?
And I mean, are we going back to the McDonald days?
Oh, McDonald works. That's the government knows.
Some jobs I had for like one day.
Wow.
Got to show up the next day.
I knew you was my dude because I did the same thing, man. I did.
Man, I forgot that I had a job when I was younger.
Wait, you said you forgot you had a job?
I forgot I had a job.
Bro. I
was younger. I was out there doing some crazy stuff during the summertime. I had a job and it was like, oh man, I got a job. I didn't have a job after that. Forgot to get there. I was a knucklehead.
Yeah, man.
Man, I've had maybe 10 to 15 jobs somewhere in there, in that range.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I think. Well, I didn't. There's a whole period of time in my life that's kind of different.
Doing some other stuff. I got you.
Yeah, I got you.
Non-W2s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
well, and then I guess we got to look at some of the side hustles that were 1099 jobs.
Okay, that count.
If I had those, there's quite a few.
Okay.
But yeah, so. Shoot, since the pandemic, I'd have 5 jobs if that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Same here, man. Same here.
So, what about you, Kaneem? How many, like, roughly,
Bro,
Jeff has only had 2 jobs.
Right, that's good.
So I'm gonna pick it back off what Mr. Cotton just said. I worked at Popeyes for 2 days. I worked at Burger King for 2 days.
It's gonna be different. It's different.
Yeah, well, both of them, because I thought when I worked at Popeyes, I didn't know, when I first got there, I thought I was gonna be like cash register, cashier, or whatever.
Anything else thinking about the chicken?
And I went straight back to the back of chicken. Then my first day, I had to close. So I had to drain the grease and the oil and put new grease for the next day and wash everything down, blah, blah, blah. And, I thought they was going to train me on different stations. And they did the same thing the second day, and I left and I ain't coming.
He said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
So I thought it was going to be different at Burger King. Did the same thing. I thought I was going to be on cashier. They had me back there with burgers and stuff.
Right.
And I had to close on that. And I was like, I did that for a couple days and I didn't go back.
Gotcha.
Then that was my last job. I think I was 16? Yeah, that was my last job. Then I didn't get another job till I was 24. 25, 26.
Okay.
So then my first job when I was 25, 26, I got me, I was at Labor Ready, and it was tree service.
Okay.
So they was cutting down these trees, and they had these big old trunks. You know, they cut them in like 3-foot sections, and you rolling these trunks toward the truck and trying to get them on the truck. There ain't no ramp or nothing. So you got to pick these stumps up and put them on your chest and roll them on. Hey, so I did that for like 2 days. I was all bruised and battered up. You know what I'm saying?
I'm done.
Yeah. Then I got this job at this Glacier company putting in windows for high rises in downtown Atlanta. Did that for probably about a week, I think. And then because you had the drug test, so when my drug test came back, I had failed it. So then I worked for this. I worked with this.
You wanted that job. You was like, oh, we like this job. Oh,
you know what I'm saying? I worked for a pipe fitting company. When I dealt with this pipe fitting company, got there, same thing. Worked for a week, drug test failed. Then I had a bunch of them jobs. I went to this I was an iron worker.
Wow.
I was working on this. I wasn't welding, but I had to bring the material. So you know, I was doing that, same thing, failed drug test. Then I went to construction. That's when I got on construction. I stayed on that for probably about a year.
Okay.
But I was in South Carolina. Did that. Came back. That job was over. Came back and got with another construction company. And the one in South Carolina, I failed a bunch of drug tests, man. So
I got you. That was okay.
But all together, I didn't really get a stable job. So between the time I started working till I got my first stable job, I probably had about 20 jobs. Wow. So to bring it to my first stable job, that was when I was at Hormel Foods. And I worked out for probably about 2 years.
Okay.
On the forklift. I was a forklift driver. So I went from tree service to forklift driver.
Okay.
And stayed there. And that's when I told you they tried to put me back in production. And I went out there throwing the middle finger at everybody in the DeKalb County police. Police came out there, escorted me away from the property. Yeah, so then I went to I worked for this HVAC service. I was out there putting in duct work and new unit, high-rise building and stuff like that. So man, I had a bunch of jobs. It was a bunch of jobs. There's some stuff that I left out, but I had a bunch of jobs. Went to college in between all of them and failed a couple of more drug tests. And yeah, it was all.
Nice.
I had a bunch of jobs, man. I was a jack of all trades.
I understand that. Oh, Pastor?
Wow. YWCA, where my mom worked. Okay. That's where I started. Or unless you include my paper route.
You had one of them, huh?
Right. Yeah, I had a paper route. Right. So actually, my paper route was first. Then the YWCA. Then the military, Army. First Interstate Bank in Beverly Hills. Flynn's Enterprises. Flynn's Enterprises, they make blue jeans for Sears and JCPenney's. So I worked in I started working in the wash house where we stone wash blue jeans and stuff. Big Ludell washing machines. It was crazy. Mixing acid and stones, big sacks of stones, throwing that stuff in these big Ludell machines. It was crazy. So
I got to interrupt real quick. That's funny. I didn't really know they're actually stone washed.
Oh yeah.
There's chemicals you mix up together. You dump the chemicals in the machine, and then you get these big sacks of stones. You cut them open and throw the stones in there. You put 35, 40 pair of jeans inside the unit, and it tosses them all together and washes them in a washing cycle. Then you got to put them in the rinse cycle. Then you got to put them in the big heavy duty dryers. You shake them out, stack them up on pallets, wrap them in plastic, and ship them out. Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
I just thought that was just, they kind of look like
marketing.
stone wash or with the stone wash.
Marketing routine.
Oh, they use stones, nice little smooth stones. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to same company, Flynn's. I went to the sewing factory because I've heard you can make more money over there. So I was a bundler. So you had 1,000 people in there, 98% women, just sewing all day.
Wow.
Putting pockets on, putting belt loops on, tacking, cuffing, all that kind of stuff. And so my responsibility was to bring all the jeans to them as a production job. So other material, the fabric. So I did that. And then after I left there, because that's when I was in transition, my stint in homelessness, if you would. The Blue Jean Factory was the first job I got from the shelter that I was living in. And then also while I was there, I worked at the Blue Jean Factory in the morning, first shift. Then I went to ER Carpenters, which was a foam factory.
Okay.
They poured foam for like hospital beds, bus seats, and car seats.
Okay.
And stuff like that. You had these 10-ton overhead cranes. I operated a 10-ton crane, lifting up 100-foot slabs of foam, 4 feet tall, 100 feet long, or 50 foot long. So I did that for a few months. And then at night, I went to McDonald's and closed. Nice. So the morning I started at the Blue Jean Factory.
Right.
Second shift was the foam factory, and then I would close at McDonald's.
Put vanilla ice of jeans. I put them on trial.
And then after that is when I moved to Illinois, and that's when my IT career kicked off. I started out as a shipping and receiving clerk. And from there, I went to Inventor. I worked for a company called Datacom for Business. They made modems, multiplexers, statistical multiplexers, DSU, CSUs, these little channel devices. When we went from analog to digital, started out with 2400, 4800, 9600 baud modems. Back when
I remember
them make noise.
I remember them.
Yeah,
you're aging yourself too.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what he was talking about.
Yeah. So did it for business. Then I moved to California and worked for ComNet Industries, and I started designing infrastructure.
Okay.
From ComNet, I went to Quest. I worked for Quest. Then I moved to Georgia and started working for Presidio. And then SunGard. I stayed with SunGard for 16 years, and we just got bought out by 365 data centers.
So look at that. Brought it all the way around. All right, real quick on mine. First job was at Chase. Not in the bank, but like one of the offices and doing filing paperwork, loans and stacks. And that was an interesting job. One of them jobs that I'm sure got replaced by computers. My next, I think, was it Kmart. Did that. Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. My very first job, I worked one day because the guy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna see you this weekend." And I was thinking, I thought that was a question. I was like, "No, it's Friday. I see you on Monday." the temp service called. It was like, "You told me you weren't gonna work on Saturday." I said, I thought he was asking me. Like, my bad. He's like, well, we gave the job away.
Oh wow.
Because it was like it was a temp service, turnover. Like, oh, he's not coming. You need somebody else. Let's see. My next job. Where did I work? I worked in a space where they galvanized steel. They didn't really make it, but they galvanized, like the light poles and everything, like them huge long. It was one of those. So there was 2 jobs that were open. One to help like put steel on these cranks so they can go in the thing and be galvanized. And you got paid, a base salary plus the weight of your work. And then there was another job that was like maintenance, cleaning, sweeping, and doing other stuff in the like painting, stuff like that. So of course I want the job that gives you a little bit of commission plus base. It was me and another guy that was going after the job. Now, me and my wife, we had no kids yet. This guy had a pregnant wife or whatever going on. So we had to flip a coin to see who got which job. Turns out I was maintenance. I lost the coin flip, which was, in hindsight, I was like, he probably needed the money more than I did because it was just me and her. And we were living with family at the time. So the crazy part about this job is I had to paint, right? Because, in the steel, because of the acid and stuff, it tears up the paint or whatever. And, you got the chipper to get the old paint off. Of course, you didn't use that. It was this thing that's jacked like all day, chipping away. I sucked at the job. Let me just put it out there. I sucked at it so bad. The guy was like, I would fire you, but it seems like you're really trying. And in the rafters, there's these butterflies. I swear they were butterflies. I don't know anything else, but they were huge. They were the biggest butterflies I had ever seen in my life. They were big. Like, I don't know where they got morphed from the acid. I don't know. They were huge. I just remember this. So yeah, I did that job for a couple of weeks. Then I tried to stay in there, man, but I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm bowing out. You ain't got to fire me. I'm gonna just quit. Like, this just ain't working. What else? I've done retail. I've done Walmart. I did McDonald's. That was my second job too. I did that for a little while. I did that about a month. Because you had to, by then McDonald's had been around too long, and trying to put stuff together wasn't really clear. So I always struggled with that. It's not a good job. Just didn't work out well. And then they wouldn't let you go on time. Like, I'm used to, you go in this time, you leave at the time we agreed to. We don't stay late.
No, you leave when it's done, when everything's clean.
Right. And I tried to strategize and get things clear because I had two jobs. I was going from one job to the other. It's like my sleep. I got to get home by this time so I can sleep, so I can get to the next, everything matters. But they're like, no, we need to. I was like, later? Like, every minute mattered. So yeah, I couldn't do that long. What else? I've done retail, I've done Costco. Costco was like my last W-2 official job. And then rest has been kind of like side hustles and wherever I can find it. Yeah. I've been fired.
I didn't run down my job list, but it is pretty interesting. I'm gonna just go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
My first job was a telemarketing job that lasted a day because I didn't know how to sell nothing. And I didn't know how to talk to people. My first real job was McDonald's. Stayed there like a year and a half, and then came back on a second stint, got fired. So that was that. There in between there was a job at Thrifty's, and Thrifty's is like a Walgreens or whatever. And that's when I had the other job. I had a second job at a hamburger restaurant called Sell Through, and I forgot I had that job, and so that's when I got fired from. And so there was that. I did get a job working for In-N-Out Burgers.
Okay.
But I ended up getting in trouble, so I never really got a chance to start. So there's that.
Like, Martin, I got a job on Monday.
I don't know if prison industry counts, but hey, there's that. But when I got out, my first job was tossing 5-gallon water bottles. Imagine 5-gallon water bottles full of water, loading them into racks. That's what I did all day. And I worked that job for a couple of days, but the only reason why I worked it for a couple of days is because the dude told me I was one of the best workers he ever had. So I went and found another job and used him as a reference. So I went to a moving company and worked for a moving company for a little bit, and then went and got a job at a mental health center as administrative assistant. And went from there, got hired on at a church as an administrative assistant and a youth pastor. And while I was an administrative assistant, it's kind of like what Brian was saying. Technology was changing, and so I was staying up with the technology, and the church was transitioning their technology, and I started doing a lot of the tech stuff that was necessary for them to transition.
Nice.
And so they fired me from my job as an administrative assistant and made me systems manager.
Okay.
So I came in one day and it was like, we don't need you in this position anymore, but hey, we got this other one we're creating. Would you like that?
Right.
Gave me a pretty nice raise, and my tech career kicked off from right there.
Nice.
And then when I left that job, I was investing in real estate for a while, and so became a real estate investor, and that was my job. And then when the market crashed, I jumped back into tech, worked for this other job, and from there, I started a nonprofit organization, and also started church planning while I had this 50-hour-a-week job. So I was going crazy at that time. 2013, I left my job and haven't looked back since.
Nice.
So I've been, CEO of a nonprofit, and then the church plant kicked off, went well, and made some merges and some everything else. And so the church is still up and functioning, but I'm able to function in my role as CEO of the company. And so the 5 jobs I had during COVID is just being able to take some of my tech skills and help people get online and do big things while COVID was transitioning. I still do teaching, training, development, and a lot of other things. So there's a lot of different little things I get to do, alongside of my main work. So so that's been my history.
Nice. So Jeff, he said, was the Costco good? It was the best. I'll at least vouch for retail space, the best, number one, and benefits and pay and treatment is subject to the building you're in, so I can't. From the top, it's good, but locally, I don't know. But it's a good space. So what would you say? What would you guys say?
Would.
You would what?
Yeah, I wish I could say what I would. I ain't never worked retail. That's all I was saying.
Oh yeah.
You always trying to get to the cash register. That's the problem.
No, man.
They put me on the cash register. Oh, I'm gone.
I signed up for the cash register.
I thought I was gonna be right there up front. Let me get this bread. Cause when folks work the cash register, it's something smooth. You can be going, hey, I need such. Slide me something. I was there.
That's why I gotta keep that. Anybody rushing to the cash register, oh, you own something. Oh, you trying to make something go down, aren't you?
Slide me something.
This dude wanted to be in the hookup position. I'm trying to get in the hookup spot.
Popeyes, come get this bucket of chicken.
Right.
Never got it though. Never got it. It's all good.
Yeah, you had dreams.
I had a plan that didn't work though.
We gonna eat. The whole hood gonna eat. Come on.
Oh man. So what would you say some of the things, or one thing, 2 things that you've learned working some of the jobs that you've had? What stuck out, what helped in your move or transition? Well, I mean, Thomas mentioned he said, I left that. I used his attaboy to find me a better job. Like, okay, oh, you love me. Okay, let me go and find a job now while you like me. So you can give me a good recommendation.
Exactly. There's a couple things that I've learned, and I teach this to everybody. Like, if you're looking at going from one level to the next level, loyalty in jobs these days, there's no loyalty. There's no loyalty from the employer. There's no loyalty from the employee.
Right.
So if you're trying to get the very best you can get, 2 things you need to learn is to get a reference and get experience, and learn how to explain that experience for the next level. Because everybody, you know, we're trying to do our very best. So experience and reference are always the best thing. As long as I have someone who can vouch for me and say that I'm this type of person, you know, someone else would be willing to hire me. If I'm learning certain skills and I know how those skills transfer, someone else will be willing to hire me. So those are a couple things. But I also learned that, you know, you always have to have something else going on, to me, because you never know when the climate of a job is going to change. And, you know, if they shift, you don't want to be left hanging, you know, and out there trying to figure things out. And I was very fortunate that I got laid off from a job out of the blue. Like literally came in one day and, you know, they're asking for certain information from me that I had. And so I was like, you know, what's going on here? And like, well, we're going to have to let you go. And I'm like, and they're trying to say, you know, we'll let you stick around for a few more days if you want. And I was like, nah, let me go today. I'm going to give you all your information. Let me go today. Cause you know, because I was fortunate at that time that I was already investing in real estate. So, you know, there's having that to fall back on, it wasn't as hard. And so there's times where you got to realize that the climate of a job, no matter how good it is, it can shift. But, you know, if you're comfortable working and you're comfortable at your job and you can, you know, that's fine. For me, I'm not that comfortable. I like to have a few things going on that if I need to make a shift, I can make a shift, you know. And here's one of the things that I also learned, and I'll just share this for those entrepreneurs out there, that people that want to take the time to move to something else, but they're afraid that if I do this thing that God has called me to, or that I have this dream, this vision that I want to do, if I fail, then, you know, what's going to happen to me? Well, wherever you're at right now, that's pretty much where you're going to fall to. So my background is in IT. So if I failed in creating this nonprofit and helping all the people, I can always fall back into an IT job, which is not, you know, a terrible place to fall. So build yourself up, you know, do the things that you need to do as far as work, but also you have a dream. You only have so much time you can live that dream. And so if you're looking to make an impact, you're looking to make a change or a choice, make that change. It doesn't matter how old you are. I'm 50 and just went back to school. There's some things I'm looking forward to doing in my older years. So those are a couple things I've learned.
Nice.
You would have heard what I said if I wasn't on mute. I was saying, preach, brother, preach.
Okay. Put you back in the corner. Let's go and put you back in the corner. You know what, Kadeem? Me and you gonna have a meeting after this meeting.
I see you when you do it. You make it all dramatic.
I don't.
Like, come on, man.
Oh, like this.
Yeah. What I'm talking about.
Well, if we wouldn't get the feedback from you, then I wouldn't.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna give me some of them headphones that you got, man. I like my little new laptop, but I guess it's giving too much volume or too much.
This is because your mic and speakers are closed. That's all.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is. All right. Rollins says, job industry became about who you know, right? Need 3 to 5 years experience, but how can you get experience without the job? Right. And Jeff said,
you got to learn how to transfer the skills, because a lot of times we have experience. We got a lot of experience in life. We just don't know how to translate that to whatever job we're looking at. There's different ways you can engage, but a lot of times we don't realize that even volunteering at places gives us that experience that we need.
Good.
We don't realize that there's different ways of letting people know. For example, you know, Walmart will call you a cashier, but you're really a customer support specialist, right? So that's what you're doing, because those customers, you got to be a specialist for the customers that come through, right? And so a lot of times we have to be able to understand what are we doing. I'm not going to let you dictate to me what I'm doing. If I'm doing this job, just because I don't have the title doesn't mean I didn't do the job.
Right.
And so a lot of times we don't look at it because we don't get a paycheck for it, or someone's not actually acknowledging the position. How many times have we been at a job and we worked above what they've asked us to do? We're doing management stuff, but they're not calling us managers.
Right.
And so, got to be able to take the experience and the skills that we have and move it forward. When I started a social work organization, I wasn't a social worker, but I know what the social ills that I faced in life and how to solve some of them, right? You don't have to call me this, right? And sometimes, there's this idea that we have to go a certain way to get to a place. Right. So I run a social work organization, and I'm not a social worker, but I can hire social workers. And so to do a lot of the work. So, there's reasons why we have to look outside the box and figure out how are we going to engage this world the way we want to, right? So if I want to do social work, do I have to be a social worker, or can I create the platform? And if I can create the platform, what do I want that platform to look like? And getting people to come alongside to support the work, to understand the work, to see the value. Once people can see the value, then they'll provide their resources and support and everything else toward that. But there has to be a value. And so a lot of times we don't recognize the value that we bring. And so we sell ourselves short, or we think the only way to go about doing something is to go to school. So I wanted to get a MSW. I was like, I'm going to school. I'm gonna be a social worker. I'm gonna get me MSW until I saw how much money MSWs get paid out of college and how much the college bill would be versus this.
What you get paid, right?
It made me pause and think outside the box, right? There's a lot of people who want to do real estate, and they think the only way to do real estate is got to get a real estate license.
Right.
You can invest in real estate, and there's ways of investing. There's multiple ways of investing in real estate. There's ways of doing things on a different level. Those are some of the things that I begin to see in life and realize that, man, we got to quit selling ourselves short or feeling as if
I'm doing fine as a social worker.
She's one of the greatest social workers I know. She is one of the greatest social workers ever.
No, I think the difference is she's actually a social worker.
Right.
Well, the thing about Latrice is she's outside the box too.
Yes.
But she has the experience also that goes along with her social work.
Right.
And so she does fine. And but everybody doesn't do what she does.
Right.
And that's the other part. They don't see the bigger picture. They get stuck in that one position.
Yeah.
Because she's not just social worker. She's Dr. Rollins.
Dr. Rollins, right. Let's get that clear. So what would you guys say, Kaneem and Pastor? What would you say that what would be some of the things that you've learned from working your jobs? Some of the things that you learned, the lessons.
Am I on mute?
Yeah, you still are.
Oh, okay. Just making sure you answering that question. Let me know that you just got those. No, man. I think one of the major things I learned was my threshold for fear. You know what I'm saying? I already thought I was kind of, brave.
Right.
But when you hanging off the side of a building 100 feet in the air with a body harness and a wall hook and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? You trying to put these outriggers in and work with tower cranes, and so I think that was one of them. When I worked construction, I wasn't sure exactly. Like, I'm looking up at these buildings, and I'm like, man, but you ain't never done it before. But then when you right there at the edge, and you got to go out now, you stand on concrete, but now your feet are on the wall of the building on the outside.
Right.
So it was like, oh, okay. I guess I ain't scared too much.
Right. I can do this. Right.
Will I die today? No. Maybe not.
Right.
But I think it gave me a sense of what my. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not finna go out here and do no bungee jumping and all that.
Come on, man. Look, let's just transition.
No,
talk about transition.
I don't get paid for that time. I was getting paid to be fearless. You know what I'm saying? Not get paid for that. But I think that was one of my mainstays, though.
I got you. Wow. Okay. What about you?
Know the difference between what you choose to do and what you have to do.
Okay.
Also, I learned to always aim for a target, always have a target. You know, wherever you are, there's someone who's further along than you are in that vein, in that lane.
Okay.
So aim for a target, and always be a target.
Right.
Be the person that other people want to emulate. You know, so find someone that you can emulate, and then make sure you're someone that someone else would want to emulate.
Right.
I learned that my resume gets me in the door, but my interaction gets the job. Your interview gets the job.
Okay.
And even with your resume, this is what Thomas was alluding to earlier. You know, you can tell people what you were hired to do, or you can tell them how you performed. Right?
Yeah.
I was responsible for sales. How about I improved sales 18% over the first 13 months in my position? You know, how did you impact the job? Not just the fact that you did it. What was your impact in your position? People need to know how you impacted an organization and environment, more than what you did or what your job description was. I think those things are critical. But there's so many lessons, man. Yeah, seriously.
Definitely.
I learned to have more confidence in myself. I used to feel like being the youngest person in the room, that I wasn't qualified because there were so many other older people in the room.
Right.
And I thought age made them better.
Right.
Yeah. And to Kaneem's point, we sell ourselves short in a lot of cases. And one of the jobs I had working for the church, working for a non-for-profit agency I didn't talk about, at Fame Renaissance in Los Angeles, I learned that about myself when I was working for a non-for-profit staffing agency that we created. And I was non-degreed, but I was helping a bunch of degree people.
Right.
I found out that your education doesn't make you.
Right.
It's great to have it, but you've got to be the person to walk in that. Too many people are defined by their degrees.
Yeah.
That's what I found out.
I agree with that.
I think yeah.
No, I'll go ahead, bro. Go ahead. You have.
I think it can become somewhat of a safety net or space where, you get comfortable. Because I've met a lot of people that are talented, but they stay in the space. You know, like just go.
Listen, y'all, you guys are talking about Dr. Rollins. You know, without Dr. Latrice is the same person.
Yeah.
She is.
Right.
She is 100%.
The passion is the same. You know, the degree didn't make her.
Yeah.
You know, she got the degree so that she could answer that question.
Yeah. True.
It was a qualifier.
Right.
But it didn't make her. And so those are some of the things that I've learned. And be willing to take a chance. Kaneem talked about being on the side of a wall. I'm like, yeah, imagine jumping out of an airplane. Imagine rappelling out the side of a helicopter.
Right.
You know, challenge yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one right there.
Yeah, overcome your fears. That's what Kaneem was talking about. Right. Means to an end, Dr. Rollins. Absolutely. You have to challenge yourself. You have to push yourself. That's the bottom line. And always have an agenda.
Right.
Always have an agenda.
Right.
You know, people without agendas are failures.
That's.
You know, one of the things that you can see from all the conversation is the improving of yourself, through the process.
Right.
At every level, begin to improve yourself. Like Latrice said, it's a means to an end. You know, one of the things that I've learned, education does bring a level of understanding for a different area, right? So you can improve your education. Education isn't the end all. It's, there's experience, there's all these things, but whatever you have, take it and learn from it and grow, because, the challenges that you went from stonewashing jeans to, technology, there's a whole different level of of understanding that has to happen there, of education that has to take place. And so being able to take that and say, you know, how can I make this jump, this leap? You do it through certain experiences also. When you moved to Chicago, you started working in this space of technology or technology components. And it took you to another level of thinking. Kaneem was like, I'm on the side of a building and I've learned that my fear factor is different, right? Just there's so many different ways that we can learn what we're made of. And taking that experience and moving it forward is very important, because none of us want to be where we were years ago. And so it's taking the sum of everything, and what are we going to do with the sum of everything that we are, and make an impact in our lives, take care of our families, and you know, continue to move forward. So it's important for us to understand where we are and what we can grow from.
Right. I love what you said earlier, you know, about transfer, right? Because you're right. When I worked in a sewing factory, I was moving material from one place to the other. In IT, I'm moving data from one place to the other. There's so many similarities. You know what I mean? And the better condition that the material was in when I handed it to the seamstress, the more effective and efficient they were able to do their job. And the better and the security of the data, when I move data, is an enabler to someone being able to efficiently or effectively use the data. Right? It's not corrupted. I got it to you safely and soundly, you know. So you're right. A lot of that stuff is relatable, and that's the way you have to think. And that's what you were talking about earlier, Thomas, about, you know, I call it, what did somebody say to me one time? I was working as a salesperson, and I went into engineering. I went into the technical side of sales, and there was an opportunity for me to go back into sales, and so I tweaked. I went from sales to technology to engineering. So I tweaked my resume to sound more technical. And when the opportunity to go back to sales came up, I tweaked my technical resume to sound more salesy. And I'll never forget that in the interview, the director was asking me questions about what I did, and I started talking, and the director said, "You sound more technical than sales." And I was like, huh. They said, "So your last job?" I said, "Yeah." So my last job. "Oh, so you actually were uncommissioned?" Yeah. "Okay, so you kind of tweaked your resume." I'm like, "Yeah, I did." Yeah. "Well, can you kind of tweak it back? Because I got a job for you."
Tweak it back. Right.
Oh, speaking of resumes, that's one of the things I learned. You got to make your resume fit the job description. You know, and you got to make sure that you take your resume. Every single resume should be dynamic. There's no static resume. And if you can't make your resume fit what they're looking for, it's like being in relationships. This is I don't have enough time to teach the class, but when I do teach this class, I talk about the similarities between building a relationship and getting a job. There's certain things that you would do in a relationship. So if a woman has a list that she's looking for in a man for a relationship, right? And so this man comes and hits all these points in this list that they have, it piques their interest. It's the same thing with the job. If they put a job description out and they say, this is what we're looking for, and the more points you can hit in your resume, the more interest they're going to have and bring you in for an interview. Now, don't just lie, because now you got to get in the interview and speak about certain things, right? So you don't want to get in the interview and bust out in that cold sweat because you don't know what you're saying, and lying and sweating and making.
I mean, you get elected to the House. If you Oh, sorry. Too soon.
No, it's good. That's perfect. But you know, it's one of those things that you got to show and prove. But the reality is, you know, if you can align your skill set up with what they're looking for in their job description, it makes it much easier. So I tell people, you know, there's people put hundreds of resumes out there for a job, trying to look for a job because they got this generic resume. And all they do is get these headhunters calling them back for these non-skilled jobs and telemarketing.
Yeah.
But the reality, those aren't the jobs that you want. If you're looking for a certain job, narrow it down. Don't expand your look. Narrow it down to what you want, what you're looking for, and then adjust your resume for every single job. I feel like there's a period of time when I was looking for a job, I put 10 resumes out that were specific to certain jobs, and I'll get 4 or 5 calls back, right? And so that's a good ratio right there. But it took a lot of work to change my resume, customize my resume for those type of jobs. And so we need to put some work in. If you're trying to get someone to pay you 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a year, you just can't show up. You got to put some work in for that.
Well, that's huge. That's huge, man. I think we forget in a lot of cases, we're so focused on how much money I can make. We don't spend enough time focused on what kind of impact can I bring to the organization. Well, I like that job. That job pays $25 an hour. Right. But do you bring $25 an hour worth of value?
Right.
And we talk about, I could do the job. Yeah, you can I can get anybody to do the job, but can you bring value to the position, to the opportunity? And that stuff matters. Ecosystem matters. I saw that Jeff his father got him a job that lasted him 34 years or something like that. Yeah. Entitlement. But anyway,
I ain't mad at you, Jeff. Listen, I ain't mad at anybody. Anybody that get the hook. I ain't mad.
Yeah.
But who you're
just
connected
I'm trying to plan for my children,
matters.
Just like Pastor.
Right. Who you're connected to matters. It absolutely matters. Your ecosystem. Know who you're connected to. The sum of a person has a whole lot to do with who they're connected to.
That's what Brother Legacy is becoming. We want to hook our next generation up. Oh, you need what? Just make a phone call. Hey, my son is trying to get. Oh, tomorrow. Good.
Yeah.
Come get dressed up. Now you got to sell it. I'm gonna get you in there. Listen,
I love writing reference letters. I absolutely love
it. For the record, YouTube, we didn't say it. I didn't say it. Listen. And it's not necessarily. And honestly, that can be an issue. But the connections, the people like the families you're blessed to be born in. I ain't mad at none of that. Because it happens all the time. Like I said, we're trying to build that level where, hey, Corey knows somebody that I'm gonna send my son to him. This is how it's generational.
I promise you, if the opportunity presented itself, I'm using all of you guys.
This show is called Brothers of Legacy. We're trying to leave legacy, and that's basically what you're looking at right there is creating that legacy. And a lot of times,
love you guys. I got to jump.
Yes, appreciate it, Pastor.
I'm good, bro.
Right, see you. And a lot of times we got to look at the way we go about trying to get jobs and how we show up and how we create. We limit ourselves a lot of times in our thinking because of our experiences. We cannot continue to limit ourselves. I didn't know where this conversation was going, but my hat that I have on, Black Wall Street, right? Just think about the legacy was there that was destroyed, but we have examples of what things can look like and the way they can be. We just got to quit selling ourselves short or getting to a point where we're comfortable enough, we've made it, and we forget about the other people and creating opportunities or training back. Doesn't mean give opportunities. Let me train back. Let me teach you how to get to where I am. There's so many successful people that are out there, but they're not willing to take the time for people who don't look like them, or we kind of think that because you have a record or you SAG or you're this type of person, you're not worth investing into. Imagine that if someone said that about the successful person a long time ago, you're not worth investing into, because that's the other part. We got to continue to reach back. And the way Jeff is like, I had a job for 34 years, got hooked up. That's not something that's, we joke about it, but the reality is I wish I can do that for people. I wish people would stick around for 34 years and help build
that too.
Because that's the other part is, do we definitely stick around long enough to build the legacy that we're looking for? Right. I say this all the time. If you want to leave a legacy, you got to live a legacy. Right. So, 100%. If you're not living legacy right now, it's kind of hard to leave one. You know, so that's good. That's good. Got to keep it moving and continue to give back into the different people. You never know who's going to be the one that can create that type of organization that continues to give us Black privilege. I'm just kidding.
He said, "Oh yeah, it was incredible." It said the managers knew that I knew the owner, so they never messed with me. It was double white privilege. I get it. All right, so listen, one thing. And Fast said it, and Thomas kind of said it as well. Like having an agenda, like going into a job with an agenda. Like what's the goal? Not just going to go, but just like what's the goal? I'm trying to earn more money. Boom. Where's the money at? Who in this organization is earning this money? You know what I'm saying? Like just finding, strategizing. Like, am I going to be here for this amount of time because I'm saving for this? Have an agenda. Have a goal. If going into any job, that's my thing. I'm not against 9-to-5s. If you're going into it, just have a goal, have an agenda. So you're not sitting there, years later, not liking where you're at, So you have options. Open yourself to options, whatever skills you're learning, put them on your resume. Always updating your resume. Always just updating and learning new skills. Like, oh, I could put that on my resume. I'm going to go over there and learn this so I can put that on the resume. So, leverage where you work at. That's the bottom line. All right. So all hearts and minds are clear. Appreciate you guys for being here. Another edition of Brothers of Legacy. Tomorrow is Freestyle Friday. Man, this week. Man, this month is just, we're almost in February. Happy New Year.
2024.
Right, 2024 is coming upon us. Like,
speeding along.
Jeez, need to slow down. I don't mind getting older, but slow down. All right, so we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Be safe. 988. If you or someone you love is having a mental health crisis, 988. I'm gonna have more information about that. Dr. Rollins, sent me some info. Get some knowledge about 988 so we can talk about that. I want to probably have a specialist on here to speak on it as well. All right. So as always, know that we love you. Jesus loves you more. Yes, indeed. It's a great conversation as usual. Have a great day. You too as well, Jeff.
Peace out, Jeff.
All right. So we'll see you in the AM. Be safe. Make good choices. Peace out.